So I'd done the diploma in lifestyle medicine, and I did really enjoy the kind of little bits of coaching that are in that. There's not a lot, but there's little kind of hints towards coaching. And I did, at the time I was doing the diploma, think, oh, it might be quite nice to do more work in coaching and learn a bit more about it. I went to the lifestyle medicine conference, and you guys had a stand there, and I thought, oh, coaching, okay, that's interesting. And the conference already had become one of those, I guess it sounds very dramatic, but sort of life-changing events. So I'd got chatting to some people, and we'd both seen the course. So Tom, who's also doing the course with me, we'd just met at the conference, got chatting, and then we started to talk about your little stand, and then we went over and had a bit of chat with you. And I think going along to Tom was the one who'd given the talk at the conference as well. And I just thought, yeah, I think this is a really good direction to go in. My experience of coaching before that had been our local health board offered 3 sessions of free coaching, I think, just to try and keep GPs in work, to try and encourage them that not everybody needs to leave and that this might be a good way to help with career. But I'd done that and I really didn't get anything out of it. It was really interesting. I think it's sort of made me realize how important a relationship is between a coach and a coachee, and just that contracting and making sure it's the right person for you as a coach. Because I even cancelled my last session and never went back because it just felt like a waste of time, which I feel very terrible to say. But so I'd had this experience of coaching, but then I kept reading about how great it could be. So that's what I think inspired me to actually do a course about coaching. And just meeting you two at the stand, you're just such warm, friendly people. It was a great way of sort of seeing who was going to be teaching us as well. So that's why I kind of went for it. I think probably what coaching actually is, so I had these preconceived ideas from this previous experience, and I think we use the word coach a lot in sort of, you think about personal trainers and a coach in football and a coach, and they're very directive. So this understanding that really it's not about directing a person, it's opening up a space for them to think, really just was enlightening for me. I just didn't know that. I didn't know what coaching was really trying to achieve. And then I think, as I've said before, learning to be comfortable in silence, like that was really enlightening for me. And the ideas behind how we listen, that's right at the start of the course, this understanding of I personally would have always listened to interrupt, just the way that I've learned how to listen. Maybe that's partly with time pressure, being a doctor, that you're trying to glean the key bits of information from a person, so you cut them off quite quickly. Even though we think we are very open in our communication, we're definitely not. So I think that was a big enlightenment for me as well. So the actual course itself is really well put together. Like the online learning, the program, the way it's written is really, really good. So it makes the learning in between the sessions really, really easy to do, and really interesting as well, like because it's nicely kind of sectioned. But for me, it's the getting to know the other people. I have absolutely loved meeting people from all over the UK who are, we're all similar and we're all different at the same time. And it's this really, because we coach each other, you get this amazing depth really early on in a relationship with somebody without knowing the minutiae of their life. So I couldn't tell you how many children people have or what they exactly do for a job, but I could tell you really deep things about them. And I just have really enjoyed that different way of building relationship, which is kind of the flip of what we do in society, where we're very superficial. I think for me the key has been those relationships, and we're already planning to get together at the conference for the majority who are coming and having a meal out, and I'm really looking forward to meeting them in person, not just on a screen. So for me that's definitely been the highlight. Really good, actually. I think, the first one, everybody's a bit nervous, but it actually works really, really well. Like, I think it's the perfect size. Things like everybody's on the one screen, and the way that everybody has time to talk as well, and then breaking off into breakout rooms means you get a bit of time with a few people. And that variety when we're coaching between each other as well, you know, I think it works really well. It's kind of the highlight of the week, actually, to sit down and have that space with each other and just learn together and listen to people's thoughts on what they've been reading. So yeah, I really enjoy the fortnightly online workshops. Great. But I would say it's been life-changing, honestly. I think for me, it's come at the perfect time in my sort of career path, thinking about my future. You know, I was already thinking that I wanted to start a business, and I had just started it before we started the diploma, and it's just sort of cemented all of the thinking I was already having about where I'm going, what I want out of life, um, you know, how I want my NHS work to look, how I want other things in my life to look, what my priorities are. And I think part of that is because you are being coached yourself by practicing coaching with others. So you're constantly, you know, it's like the best free coaching you could get, because you've got this space with other people to help you have that space to think as well, which you wouldn't afford yourself in day-to-day life. And I think just I've changed, how can I put this? I think it's like you start to see everybody differently. So instead of just seeing the level of what people are presenting to you, you start to think and see what's underneath what they're presenting to the world. You start to think and see what their drivers might be. And I think it gives you more empathy with people, more patience with colleagues, perhaps, and changes how you approach patients and then how I approach my work colleagues, as well as my family. I mean, I think my kids sometimes are getting sick of me saying, what else could you do? What else could you do? You know, what are your other options here? Like, Mom, shut up. Do you know, I just tell me what to do. But yeah, so I think it just opens up a different mindset about relationships and how you manage people and difficult relationships. You know, working as doctors, we have difficult patient encounters, we have difficult colleague encounters. But I think when you can step back and see a different level to a person and start to understand more what they're doing and why they're doing it, I think that helps you to manage them and manage your reactions to what they're doing as well. And I think that can only be beneficial in our careers and in our lives as well, and to have better relationships. Definitely with patients. So I've already started to find myself doing it. And I think be prepared for appointments overrunning a little bit, but they overrun in a way that I think is so satisfying, because I think you can dig into things that mean you don't see that person again. Do you know, you sort things out for them in a better way. I mean, in a wonderful world, we'd all have half an hour with each patient that we could really get to the crux of what's going on with them. But I think you can use it, you know, particularly with patients you see frequently. I think you can just drop in some of those big questions that, as we've learned on the program, it doesn't all take place in the coaching room. You know, sometimes it takes place as the thinking that you've started off with somebody in between sessions. And I do think you can do that with patients. You can start a way of thinking that takes them down a route, you know, that they may not have gone if you'd not asked those sort of questions. So with patients, I think with colleagues, it takes conversations in a different direction. I think we know what people are thinking, or we think we know what they're going to say. And then when you don't close down the conversation, it just goes in a different direction. My children, yeah, I do it with my children as well. I think teenagers particularly can have preconceived ideas about things. I think particularly some of the cognitive behavioral coaching that we were learning is really useful for teenagers. And I actually think I'm going to build more coaching into what I'm doing. So whilst the business is sort of lifestyle medicine, and I do a fair amount with menopause, I think actually building some coaching into that will really help people. I think just doing some general coaching with some clients will be really useful as well. You know, people can get very stuck in patterns and in behaviors, And I think just opening up coaching in a much broader sense, not just about specific nutrition or physical activity, but just their whole lives, and looking at ways you can help them, can be really useful as well. Definitely do it. I think it really ties in beautifully together. No matter what direction you're planning to go, it's such a useful thing. Even if it's just personally learning about, if you're starting a business and stepping out of a career path that's been very one track, and you're starting to go off on a different route. I think it's useful, even if you don't decide to use coaching, it's useful for yourself to work out directions for your where you want to take lifestyle medicine within your NHS job, or your outside of the NHS job. I think make sure you've got time to do it. It's a great course, but it is, it's intense. It's not without, you need to dedicate time to making sure that you're doing the reading to get the most out of it. I mean, you could skip through stuff, but you're not going to learn if you don't do that. And then making sure you've got time to do the practice coaching. But yeah, don't hesitate. I think it's a brilliant thing to do. It just both from a career perspective, but also just from a personal growth perspective, it's just been wonderful. I'm sad to see the end of it.